What's going on, everybody? Your host, AMF1534 here. Welcome back to Let's Play some more Gran Turismo, the ultimate driving simulator. And we are now into the last endurance race in this entire thing. And it started off with a bang. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot more of a challenge than it turned out to be. Since, like, the first, probably 2/3 of the first lap, they were hanging with me pretty good. And, I mean, we are certainly outmatched in terms of horsepower here. Like, it's not like we are, you know, holding a significant advantage over the competition because, I mean, there's like the Toyota Supra has like 670 horsepower or something like that to our 541, I believe it is. But just the fact that our car's four-wheel drive, it has superior maneuverability, and it's, I would assume, much more lightweight. We are still just absolutely ripping people a new set of gonads right now. I mean, right when you thought you only needed one pair, you're definitely going to get another full pair. So it's something else, man. So we're rolling. We're going to have to change our tires here in just a minute. I think when we come back around here for our 10th lap, then we'll go jump in there and get a fresh set tossed in. Figure might as well do that, you know, once every 10 laps. Seems like a nice increment to do it in, which means we'll really only have to do it one more time, and then we can kind of quote unquote limp our way through the finish line. So it'll be good times. I read something yesterday. It was, I would have to say, one of the most troubling articles that I've ever heard in my life. And it wasn't something like really violent or just like awful to read. Well, it was awful to read, but for a totally different reason. That was probably one of the worst entries into the pits I've ever seen. Go figure that I was the one doing it. But that's how it's got to be done. So essentially, what we're looking at here is, and this was on Gawker too, so, I mean, Gawker's not exactly a credible place for anything, it's just all people's opinions. I don't even know how they even let people write shit for that website, I really don't, because, like, pretty much everything I've ever read from there is all just terrible. Like, it's not well written, and it's just people just basically saying, I hate this, or I love that, and, like, anybody that disagrees with me are all the worst people on the face of the planet. And that you can all go kill yourselves, and I'll find, you know, smirky, you know, not creative ways of trying to convey that message. And so what I read yesterday, like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this can't be real. It can't be. Like, only a person that doesn't live on this planet would have written it. And essentially what it was this person was saying, I hate mac and cheese. It's disgusting and gross. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what? Who the hell hates mac and cheese on this planet? Like, that's like something that just about everybody in the world, unless you're somebody that has, like, really bad lactose intolerance, I can understand it then, but it's kind of like one of those widely accepted things that virtually everybody on the planet likes. I mean, mac and cheese is a work from God, man. It's so good. It's like you know, the cheese is really like nice and velvety, and you know, the noodles provide like the perfect texture and like vessel for the cheese. It's so good. Like, even if it's made, you know, kind of subpar, it's still usually pretty good. But this person was basically saying that, like, virtually all incantations of macaroni and cheese are disgusting and horrible, and that, you know, how dare you like something that's so heinously gross. And, like, part of the argument was saying, like, the ones they were targeting the most were mass-produced ones. But even there, I gotta draw the line. Like, I can be kind of okay with somebody's argument on saying Velveeta is pretty gross, even though I personally think it's fucking delicious. But I get it. Like, that's not necessarily real cheese. And, you know, sometimes the shell, like the Velveeta shells, can be kind of wonky. But generally, I don't know, I think it tastes pretty damn good. But they were also saying stuff like, you know, the Kraft macaroni and cheese is awful, which I absolutely, when I heard that, I was like, hey, fuck you, okay? That's just not okay. Kraft macaroni and cheese is my baby. And, you know, like a lot of the other, like, you know, microwavable ones that you find at the grocery store. For lunch today, I had, it was Michelin brand macaroni and cheese, and, like, I've been eating those things for years, and this is probably the first one that I've had since I was like 12 years old, and it was really good. Like, it was, I mean, you can only expect so much quality out of one that you prepare in a microwave. But two of my favorite types of macaroni, actually, like 3 out of my top 5 types of macaroni and cheese are prepared in a microwave. And they really are. Like, homemade ones, obviously, you know, there's really not a lot of things that will top homemade. Like, my dad's homemade mac and cheese is fucking crazy, and it's really good. And then, like, the Kraft macaroni and cheese, like, that's one that I'll make stovetop, no big deal. That one's really good, but I'd say 3 out of my top 5 favorite ones are ones that you prepare in a microwave, and it's a Country Crock brand. That one's really good. Stouffer's brand is arguably probably my favorite one out of all of them. And then Michelina brand. Those are like my 5 go-to things. And so I don't understand how somebody could like legitimately say it and mean it, you know? It's so weird. They must be living such a droll, humdrum, like non-velvety cheese dairy enriched life that they felt like they had to say one of the most blasphemous things on the face of the planet. like you can get yourself thrown in jail forever for saying something as horrible as that. And I would actually be the one to personally show up at your door with a pair of handcuffs that were actually made out of like steel reinforced macaroni shells, and I would end up probably torturing this person in their jail cell by forcing them to eat it as every single meal while they were in the chokey. Whether they got, you know, crippling constipation or not from all the cheese, I don't really care. Because I would convert them into, well, it's not really a cult, but I would convert them onto the proper side of the fence, on the proper side of the lovely, dehydrated, cheese culture packet laden fence of macaroni and cheese love, you know, because it's just something that you can't hate it. You just can't hate it. Especially when you subscribe to the theory of macaroni and cheese with hot sauce. We've already been over that in a recent episode of this. I mean, that's what'll bring you over to the right side of the fence, you know. So that's just the way it goes. But yeah, I read that and I was like, that's just, I don't know, man. There's just something that doesn't really add up on that one for me. So that's Gawker though. That's just another example of you know, quote-unquote articles that, you know, people pass off as such. And they're like, oh, I wrote an article and it's legitimate. No, it's not. You're just somebody on a website posting in a forums area thinking that you're a legitimate human being, that when somebody clicks on a link, it goes to this little thing that you wrote and it says, by so-and-so. And you're like, oh, look at me, I'm a legitimate journalist now. Because I'm working purely in a weird, uncomfortable, you know, internet forums area. So that's what that is. That is simply what that is all about. Another thing that I read, and this was actually a legitimate article. This was something that was, you know, that actually, you know, was something that when I heard it, I was like, oh, for a different reason, but. It really made me realize how fucking old I'm getting. Like, it was really sad. So I remember when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, I remember seeing the pilot episode. Of Hey Arnold. It was the episode where Arnold and Gerald are downtown as fruits. That was the first one, if I remember correctly. And I just remember seeing that. I was like, man, I kind of like this. And then I saw a few more episodes, and I was like, I really love this cartoon, and I never turned back from there, and I've seen every episode of the show probably, I'm going to say, realistically, probably 30 times over. And that's a lot. That is a lot of times to watch that show. It may even be more than that. It may be close to 50, since I do own the DVD collection, and I've seen it a number of times through, so it may be even more than that. But it just occurred to me yesterday. I was kind of scrolling through Twitter and I saw somewhere, I don't remember what account posted it, but it occurred to me that the very first episode of Hey Arnold aired for the very first time 19 years ago. 19 full years ago. 365 days, well, and add a few more from leap years, times 19. Oh, I read that and, like, I was kind of excited because it's like, man, that show really's been around that long. And then right after that, I was like, oh my god, is it really almost 20 years ago since that came out? Am I really getting that old now? I was just like, oh, fuck, man. Oh, Jesus. I'm going to be ordering off that senior menu in no time at this rate. But man, I love that show. I feel like I need to watch some of that later when I get home. I'm going to be going out and grabbing a couple beers here in a little bit. But yeah, dude, it's just crazy to think that all those cartoons I grew up watching, like, there's some serious longevity going on, and they're bringing them all back again, but it's just, oh, God. I can only imagine, like, cartoons that, like, my parents watched back in, like, the 50s and 60s. Like, I wonder if any of those are, like, on any channel anywhere. Because I know that sometimes they'll have, like, some super, super golden oldies type of things on TV from when they were watching, like, you know, Rocky and Bullwinkle and oh, Jesus. Probably things like, oh, fuck, I can't think of... Well, even like Scooby-Doo, it was like back in the 60s, because, I mean, we all know that, you know, Shaggy was like the ultimate fucking pothead in there, and there's all sorts of, like, 60s-esque music in there, and they brought in a lot of, like, celebrities and such that were popular at that time. So, and that one's still out, man. That's... Like, Scooby-Doo shows, like, they're still making new ones of that. Like, I've been seeing commercials for a brand new one that actually, truthfully and saddeningly, looks terrible. It's another product of a show that, like, they're trying to over-modernize it and, you know, try to insert, like, humor, you know, kind of like humor formulas from today, and it just doesn't work. It just, like, we've grown up for the last, you know, number of decades, like, having all of their different personas and quirks and such kind of all engraved in our skulls, and then having somebody take that you know, concept and really kind of try changing them up a little bit is, I don't like it. I really don't like it. Like, even ones in the past couple of years where they've added in, like, you know, celebrities from today, because I know that I've seen a number of ones where they're doing stuff with, like, WWE wrestlers and like some various, like, movie stars and celebs from this time period, and it doesn't seem like it fits, you know, because, like, the entire cast of characters, like, they're all based off of, you know, people from, like, the 1960s and 70s, not from fucking, like, 2013 and 2015. Hey, switch it up and we're gone. Alright. It wasn't a very clean little swirling, whirling dervish, you know, flying donut type of thing there, because we weren't actually flying. Nor did we actually pull off the full 360 there, but you get what I'm saying. But I don't know, man. I just I don't know if I can watch it. And, like, even, like, the way, like, the animation style is even a little bit different. Like, all the way that everybody's kind of drawn up looks a little bit different. And like, I don't really have a problem with that necessarily, but I don't know. It just I think I'll try watching, like, an episode of it just to see if it's something that I can even, like, tolerate for more than 5 or 6 minutes. But I got a really bad feeling it's not going to be very good. It's just going to be one that when you watch, you're just like, oh, Jesus, why couldn't we just leave it alone at some point? Like, we got to let some of these shows that they've been dragging through the ringer forever, like, we've got to let them die at some point. Like, Scooby-Doo, we're going to have to retire one of these days. Like, it's going to have to be able to be put in the grave where they find out that, you know, Mr. Carmichael, you know, it wasn't Mr. Carmichael that did the whole thing. It ended up being actually a fucking zombie that murders all 5 of them, and that, you know, it's just all finished. You know, the mystery machine gets blown up or sunk in the ocean, and you know, then there's, like, a giant memorial held for them at, you know, like, the fucking malt shop or something. I don't know. Because they'd always go to the malt shop, and Shaggy would try to order, like, the 57-layer sandwich that Scooby would magically eat in one bite, which is highly uncomfortable to think about, by the way. But there's got to be, like, an episode, even though it would probably ruin children's minds forever, but you got to have an episode somehow where you can kind of, you know, quote-unquote kill them off, but have it still be, like, marginally satisfying. I think that my concept is probably a little bit too brutal. I don't think you can have, you know, the creeper actually finally catch up to them and, you know, rip all their heads off and, you know, go and mount them above his fireplace somewhere out in like the woods or something. Or, you know, the phantom virus infecting one of them and it turns them into like some cyber slave and they go and, you know, infect everybody's computers and have everything become sentient and it all comes to life and murders everybody in their sleep or something like that. Like, I don't think those things would work, but we're going to have to do it with that show at some point. We're going to have to do it with The Simpsons at some point because, my God, that one's been going on for like fucking like 20-something years, man. It's got, that one's going to, I mean, it's still successful, which is fucking insane. But it's going to have to come to an end at some point. Just like, you know, Family Guy, I would say probably in the next, you know, somewhere in the next 5 years, I think that one will also potentially hit its bottom. Because I feel like it has kind of gone under a slight decline. Like, obviously, the old Family Guy is just fucking beautiful. There are so many episodes in, like, the older first, like, you know, seasons 1 through probably, I'm gonna say like 1 through 7 that were just incredible, really. And I feel like, I mean, anytime you have a comedy show like that where they're using generally the same version of humor throughout most of it, like you will hit dry spots. But I have to give it to them. Like they have had some really good episodes in here. Like I was just watching one the other night that I hadn't seen before. I don't even know if it was like a brand new one or not, but it was one where Stewie was at preschool and Lois went to pick him up and his teacher was telling him that, you know, he's like disruptive and like and this and that and the other, and so they wanted to get him on like, you know, ADHD drugs essentially, or like Ritalin, or, you know, some type of deal like that. And so, and like she was really apprehensive on it, but she finally decided to break down and do it. Which is ridiculous that you'd put a 1-year-old on drugs like that, but they did anyways, and Stewie went from being kind of his, you know, hyperactive, you know, really outspoken self to just being kind of sort of like a zombie, really, with crazy over dilated pupils, and he was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to go into the other room, you know, just kind of like being a shell of himself essentially. And you know, Brian had like a really big moral issue with it, but one day he decided to take them himself, and he kind of did the opposite thing, where he was like the kind of chill and relaxed guy to being like the really hyperactive, crazy, I'm gonna get like 50 bajillion things done all at once. And it, you know, eventually kind of messed with his life too. But it was really funny because like they were just like, their mannerisms were totally different the whole episode, and just like seeing random things that they were doing the whole time, I thought it was really funny. Because I've known a bunch of people that have over the course of my life that were on like attention deficit and hyperactivity stuff like that, and I've seen kind of both ends of the spectrum where some of them are just like, they're like super mellowed out and just almost like their entire life force is caught in quicksand or something, and they just don't know how to like get out of it, so to speak. And then I've seen the other side of it where you know, they're on like drugs, but they're so fucking hyper and just like all over the place all the time, and they can't sit still for like a second, but they're like overly productive all the time, and they just have like an unending source of energy because of these things. So it was kind of funny seeing, you know, kind of these two characters that you're so used to them being a certain way, you know, have one episode where they just totally act the sheer opposite of what we're used to seeing them do, because of that stuff. It was funny. I liked it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I was really going with this conversation after a little bit of ranting there, but yeah, okay, yeah, we were going to talk about retiring them at some point. It's crazy. Unfortunately, I don't see a terribly bright future for a lot of like comedy shows these days, because I feel like the type of humor that they're trying to use it's a very hit and miss type of thing, and I feel like so much of it is missed. Like a lot of like Nickelodeon shows are one that I can really use this example for. Like there was a lot of comedy out of like the animated shows that were on when I was young, like in the early to mid parts of the 90s, and even like some of the later parts of it, and just like there was always something to be learned out of it, and like the comedy was was good. Like, it was funny for kids at that age, but there was still like some adult humor that was in there that people like my age or older could get a good laugh out of. But like now, I've seen a couple of them on. Like sometimes I'll be up, early in the morning, or I'll have like fallen asleep with my TV on, and I like went up and down a couple channels from rolling over the remote, and I'll see some shows that are on, and like they're just awful. Like they're not funny at all, and their version of trying to get humor across is just by like a bunch of like screaming and loud noises and a bunch of like really dry punchlines that A, either don't make any fucking sense at all, or B, they're just awful and not funny at all. So I feel like if that's the model that we're going in the future, because it's been going on for a while now, like if that's how it's going to continue to roll, I feel really bad for how this is going to go. There are some good ones out there, like shows like Rick and Morty are fucking hilarious. I love that show. And I hope that there's more of that, where there is some like intellectual humor in there, but there is still like some mindless stuff that goes on in there. But who knows? It's a hard thing to judge, really. So, okay, we've gone on far enough here. When we come back on the next episode of Let's Play Gran Turismo, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, we've got 10 laps to go, or like less than 10 laps to go. So, we're going to knock that out, and then we'll have one more event to take on before the whole thing is finished. So until then, my friends, this is your host, AMF1534, saying thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.